Local people. Local news and events. Local sports. Local matters. For all things Lloydminster and area, this is Live with Kurt Price.
Hey, thanks for joining us once again from the Lloydminster Heavy Oil Show, the 2024 Oil Show. It is a bi-yearly show, and we're excited to be here. At the new Lloydminster Nissan, we're excited about our new location and our new inventory. You can stop in at the new Lloydminster Nissan and come inside to our big, bright, beautiful building and have a look at what we have in the showroom. And on the lot, it's just as impressive because we are loaded up with new cars, trucks, and SUVs. So if you're looking to get into a new vehicle or a new to you vehicle, get into the new Lloydminster Nissan and get into a new vehicle right now at just $59 a month. At the new Lloydminster Nissan, we won't sell you a car, we'll help you buy one. Yes, we are going to be talking with Energy Minister Jim Reiter from Saskatchewan here in just a few moments, and Tracy Kay is going to be joining us once again as well. And Mayor Gerald Aalbers is the in charge of protocol here at the Lloydminster Heavy Oil Show, and he done a great job getting guests together and guest speakers. They've really been the highlight of the show so far, and we're going to find out from the mayor about some of his discussions with both Premier Smith and Premier Moe and how things have been going here at the oil show. Superior Water specializes in nothing but water, and with over 22 years in the business, they're proud and confident that their water is superior for iron filters, water softeners, reverse osmosis distillers, chlorine removal, and H2S odor removal. Give Superior Water a call, 780-875-6636. Stop in at their 57th Avenue location right beside Sheepskin Loft and stay hydrated with pure, clean water. I drink Superior Water because I believe it is superior. So tomorrow we get to head out with another meal in the field. Once again, would like to congratulate Brad Ferguson for winning the meal in the field, and thank you to our sponsors. Our sponsors are Diamond 7 Meats, Sobeys Lloydminster, the Tent Guys, Vical Agro, the new Lloydminster Nissan, and the Gary Malka Foundation. If you haven't yet taken a harvest picture and posted on my Facebook page, on the Live with Kurt Price Facebook page, or on one of our sponsor pages, do so. Nominate a farmer. We have 2 more meals to deliver and 2 $500 gift cards from Diamond 7 Meats to give away yet. And just for nominating a farmer, you'll be entered in to win those gift cards. So we hope you'll get those in ASAP. There's also the big Champion X Shrimp Boil here tonight. There's still a few tickets left if you hurry, but those are selling very, very fast, and it is going to be a sellout. We'll take a quick short break here, and we'll come back with Saskatchewan Energy Minister Jim Reiter.
At Lloydminster and District Co-op, membership matters more, because being part of a co-op means you're connected to something bigger than yourself. From long-held legacy by those who built our communities to people you call family, friends, and neighbors. When you're a Lloyd Co-op member, you're an owner in a local business that prides itself on purpose alongside profit. You earn cash back, you help support causes that matter most, and you're building a better way of life for the next generation. Membership matters more.
It's more than just taxes at L&A CPA. Assurance, accounting, retirement planning, estate planning, business consulting, financial consulting, farm program support, and bookkeeping. But yes, there is always taxes. The team at L&A CPA is committed to helping you achieve your best results and will be there to assist you every step of the way. L&A CPA, with offices in Provost, Vermilion, and Lloydminster. How can you help support the oil and gas industry and jobs in Western Canada? The answer is closer than you think. Sell your scrap metals to PWM Steel. PWM sells scrap iron to Evraz, located in Regina. Evraz's #1 customer is the energy sector, building pipes and plates for the oil and gas industry. PWM Steel is your locally owned metal recycler and steel service center in the area. Plus, they're a strong supporter of the community. PWM Steel, your top steel supplier for Alberta and Saskatchewan for 40 years.
Welcome back. BioClean Disaster Services is committed, certified, and reliable and will help you get your life back. Not only are they Lloydminster's largest disaster company, they're also Lloydminster's local restoration company. 1-833-246-8326. Taking care of your belongings and your property is very important, of course, but taking care of you and your family is what matters the most, and helping you get your life back after fire, flood, or any kind of disaster. BioClean Disaster Services, 1-833-246-8326. Well, our guest today here at the Lloydminster Heavy Oil Show is none other than, and making his second appearance on our program, so thank you very much.
The
on
most
the Patrick
biased
Show.
oil and gas show on the internet.
Is Saskatchewan Energy Minister, the Honourable Mr. Jim Reiter from Tramping Lake, which is not too far from where I grew up.
Thanks, Kurt. If I remember, if memory serves, you grew up in Landis, I think.
did.
Just across the lake from each other.
Yeah. We beat Tramping Lake in hockey nearly half the time.
I don't
think that's the case. I don't recall that. I followed the stats over there pretty good, which I never did.
Yeah.
That's back when either community had hockey teams.
That's back when they were still doing the scores on tablets back then. Chisel off the scores and then take an old tablet off and put another one up. But that's kind of...
I did. I grew up in Tramping Lake. It was great childhood. I live in Rosetown now, have for many years. It's home. Community has been fantastic to me. I've been MLA there since 2007, and it's and enjoying being energy minister. Now, as you mentioned, this is my second opportunity to talk to you guys.
Yes, and my third opportunity with you, because we did a town hall meeting in Macklin.
Yes, we did.
You know, this guy has a tremendously good memory. He knows the 14,000 wells in Saskatchewan, every single one of them. No, he doesn't. But I seen him out in the parking lot, and he says, "Remember me?" And he says, "Of course I do." So he said, "We're going to be on at 1 o'clock or 1:15 or somewhere in there," and he said he'd be here. So
it's good to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
So basically, back in 2022, you'd kind of just taken over the portfolio.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest eye-opener? What have you learned over the 2 years in being energy minister in Saskatchewan?
You know, it's incredible how much things have changed in those 2 years, I would say. Obviously, for me, it gave me an opportunity to get more up to speed in the industry. I'm responsible, obviously, for oil and gas. That's why I'm here, but also potash, uranium, mining, forestry, a number of natural resources. But I would say in the oil industry, to me, the thing that I think you gentlemen would agree with me. 2 years ago, the show was a great show. This year, it's even better. It's, I think it's a little bit bigger. There's more enthusiasm. I think the whole industry is more optimistic of where things are going. I think the pendulum has shifted. I think the general public is more aware that Canadian oil, Saskatchewan, Alberta oil, it's ethically produced, it's clean, it's what the world needs more of, and we all need to be proud of it.
One thing that Scott Moe said today, and I want to get your take on this as well, you'll probably agree, but he answered very quickly and very short and very deliberately when he said, "What do you need from the federal government?" And I think he kind of shocked the room a little bit when he said, "Well, I'm looking for one thing. I'm looking for a change in government." Can you maybe expand on that a little bit? Or
I can, absolutely. I think he feels, I think him and I feel exactly the same in this. Since I've had this file, before I've had this file, so we've dealt with the federal government on issues. I'll use oil and gas as the primary one on this. We've tried to deal with them. We've tried to impress on them the importance of energy security, the fact that oil and gas produced in Canada is the most ethically produced in the world. And yet, every time you turn around, you still get, they're still trying to do everything they can to hurt the industry, basically want to shut it down. And finally, you just get to the point and you go, enough's enough. We need a change in government. And to me, I mean, polls are dangerous, but right now the polls federally are showing that that's probably what's going to happen. And I think that's what this country needs.
I think so as well. I just think with the amount of energy and that we want to give out back to this earth, and our own selves as well, is that we just got to have something change. I think we've got the right people in place on both sides of the provinces here, and I think it's just a matter of letting us open up and doing what we do. I keep saying this, but Stephen Harper said, if the country is in a good economical state, the rest of the problems of the country are manageable. And we need to get to that level with our production and our oil and gas and get us to another level of where we're in good economical state with the federal government cooperating, and then stuff gets a lot easier, Jim, in my opinion.
It absolutely does. That starts at the basic. You heard during the luncheon, Premier Smith and Premier Moe. Premier Moe was talking about, he said the two key things are energy security and food security.
100%.
Without that, you're kidding yourself if you think you have any kind of security. So we absolutely need that.
The food security is because you have energy security. Because if you don't have energy security, you don't have no food.
You're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Mr. Reiter, something that's taken place in Saskatchewan that's increased production by 25% is bilateral drilling. That is a multilateral drilling. That is, and Scott Moe had said that's something that came from somebody in this room. Is this a Lloydminster thing we're looking at?
Well, this was an industry-driven thing. We were approached by folks in industry asking about this. I would just say, Kurt, what it is our target is to increase to 600,000 barrels per day. The multilateral incentive you're talking about is pretty new. You see a lot of action happening in this area. Companies, for example, Premier and I met with Cenovus this morning, and they were talking about all the extra drilling they're doing. Half of it, I think, or more targeted to multilats. So that's just one example. Mm-hmm. So we're very excited about where that's going to go. But it did. We were approached from a company that said, look, here's the problem. Multilats, new technology, more efficient. If they could get some kind of a volumetric incentive to encourage that, we probably would get our barrels per day up. And this is very much in its infancy. We announced it in March at the budget, and we've been thrilled with the response. So we think really it's going to be a huge success. And I've impressed on everybody I meet with in the industry is we think that's where these sorts of changes need to come from, right? You folks are the experts in this field. You come to us with the kind of ideas. We'll evaluate, see if it can be doable, see what kind of adjustments we need to make, and we'll be open-minded to it because, again, as I said earlier, the world needs more Canadian oil, and we're committed to getting it there.
We're a resilient people, Jim. We try to figure out how to get that stuff out of the ground when all our odds are against us. And as a producer now, Jim, and working on the same team with you now, with Integrity Oil and Gas, the multilateral is on everybody's tongue and everybody's lips of talking about, and it's increasing production. And you talk with the Cenovus people. We work with them very closely on other projects, etc. But thermal was the word on everybody's lips for years, and now it's cold production. Well, cold production followed by the terminology of multilateral drilling. So I was saying this morning that fields that we literally had shut in and were old thermal fields that were shut down, farmland over that big oil companies kept, are now going into those same sections and multilateral drilling and getting 300-400 barrel a day wells out of some of those. And it's just 6-7 miles east of town here in the old Aberfelty field that is revolutionizing some of the drilling and stuff that's going on out there. And so, multilateral drilling, there is a massive amount of oil that I think producers are coming back to in Lloydminster because this new technology is going to get some more percentages of that reserve back out of the ground.
That's great. I got to tell you, when we announced it, we were excited about. We felt it could be successful, but the response I've heard from people like you, Tracy, the kind of comments you just made, I'm even more bullish on it now. I think it's going to be huge, and we're very, very excited about it.
Now that Trans Mountain is complete, and we've got multilateral drilling, it's always what's next, Jim. And we heard a little bit about possibly Keystone Pipeline, depending on who gets elected south of the border here. But when you look at the energy sector, what is next for the energy sector?
Well, it's funny, the folks I've talked to here, I've had an opportunity to talk to a lot of folks in the industry the last couple of days, and we're hearing about, it's great that the pipeline's operating now, but they're talking potentially, 4 or 5 years, we're going to have an egress problem again, right? So, you heard Premier Smith talking to luncheon today, potentially Northern Gateway, potentially Keystone again being looked at, depending what happens to the U.S. I think it's very important for us all to be very mindful of that, to not be caught short, to be planning for those sorts of things right now, to be advocating for those things right now. You see what happens when the proper planning isn't put in ahead of time. So, you heard Premier Moe talk about how bullish he is on this industry. That's going to include transportation issues. So you need to get to market. So it's important that we're all mindful of where we go from here.
Jim, would you like to see the concentration of that going east and west instead of south? Is that what Premier Moe would really ideally have, where we're getting our stuff on our own Canadian tidewater and not getting down to the Gulf of Mexico? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Frankly, we're in a situation right now where I wish it was going east and west. I wish better decisions would have been made in the past. But I think we're in a position right now where we should be looking at all of the above, right? Like we need to be advocating for both. Things will happen beyond our control, both positive and negative, for example, in the United States, and what kind of opportunities we'll have there to increase it. So I think we've got to be, frankly, working on both. You folks need to get your product to market, so let's give you every opportunity we can.
We have a toll booth, the American border, unfortunately. Yeah. We may not have that toll booth if we could go east and west. And I think that's the Achilles heel, that we're always at the mercy of the toll booth, trying to get our stuff down to tidewater in the Gulf of Mexico. And maybe with the new government change and the pushing that the premiers are doing, I mean, ideally, I'm hoping in our lifetime, and in sooner than that, is that we can go east and west.
It's ridiculous that, you look at the wealth of oil that we have in Western Canada that we should be able to get to market, and we've got Eastern Canada still importing oil from other countries. It's ridiculous. And so, that needs to get fixed. But again, I view we need to continue to work on that, but we need to continue to work on the north-south as well. So we need to give your industry every opportunity.
We stand our ground on the stuff that we do, and we're seeing that, and we're going to say electric vehicles lots on our show, because we just think that there's a downturn in that stuff. But you're right. I think that as producers, we just stand our ground and we just keep producing. And the world is realizing that some of that stuff's just not sustainable. And I think that's what's getting us back on track even more, Jim.
Your industry is incredible when you think about over the last number of years, for all kinds of reasons. Most of them not sensible economic reasons, but more political reasons. You've had some very difficult times, and you folks have soldiered through that. Yeah. And I do agree with you. I think you see that pendulum swinging. You can see optimism. I think people are understanding now the kind of changes that have been made in the industry, talking about lowering methane emissions and again, the most ethically produced energy in the world.
And the most trees of any country in the world, basically, too, right? For the carbon stuff.
We need to be proud of that. We need to support you folks as you continue on technology. You've done amazing things in technology. You continue to do so, and I'm very optimistic where this industry is going.
Well, that's my next question. As a producer, what is Scott Moe and your team saying in anticipation of this staying strong? The market staying strong, and we had a little quiver here in the last few weeks on dropping down, and when WTI gets less than $70, then we start to be affected by it. But how do we get What's your optimism on that? Is it high that we're going to still have another 3, 4, 5 year run at this? Because there's lots of drilling going on in that right now.
I think so. There is lots of drilling, but I mean, the world needs your product. Like, it absolutely does. It's going to continue to rise. You heard Premier Smith talk about that at lunchtime. They talk about peak oil. I agree with her. I don't think we've seen it yet.
It's good to know.
And the industry, you know, you talk about the WTI, which is so important on the profit side of the equation for you. But again, like so many markets, it fluctuates, right? It's up and down. You've seen it. So I think the long term, is going to be good. And I think again, we need to keep producing. I think it's. The world's going to keep demanding it, and the world wants clean energy supply. Well, you know what? You're not going to find cleaner, more ethically produced oil than you do here.
I call ourselves, I've said this many times on the show, hey, Kurt, we are green energy compared to what everybody else is producing. I think we fall into that category as oil producers. I do.
Well, is there any technology here, Jim? I know you got to get going, so I'll ask you quickly. Was there anything as you walked around and saw at the Lloydminster Heavy Oil Show that really stood out to you?
You know what stood out to me? I had an opportunity for a quick tour yesterday, and then this morning I went along on a tour with the two premiers who went through, and it's amazing how, as you talk to folks who've been in this industry for a long time, and they start to talk about how technologies have changed over the years, and how so much of it has been done right here. Like, folks, not in a fancy lab somewhere, but folks on the ground doing the things, have a very practical, logical, well thought out way of doing things, have developed products that are making us more efficient. It just does my heart good. It's local, it's here, and it's impressive.
So we got to let you go. Yep. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Tracy.
You,
good
Always
to see you guys again. Always a pleasure.
I hope you're around for a long time.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Mayor Gerald Aalbers.
At Jason Arden Associates Cooperators, we're proud to be a top-rated local insurance company that offers flexible solutions and expert advice for all your insurance and investment needs. We'll work with you to tailor your insurance specific to your needs, and we offer investment advice that always puts you first. At Cooperators, one of our core values is to give back to the communities that we live in. Thanks to the support of our clients in Lloydminster and area, in 2023, Jason Arden Associates has donated $40,000 to local nonprofits, charities, students, athletes, and other special events. How does your insurance company support our community?
At CK McKean Roofing, they understand what it took to put that roof over your head for your family. With over 20 years of experience under their belt, they strive to show you that with their workmanship and their integrity. Not all roofing companies are created equal, and that's why CK McKean Roofing encourages you to focus on your most important investments, your home and your family. CK McKean Roofing. Roofers do it on top.
At Diamond 7 Meats, we work with local farm families to provide a high-quality product and a great selection for you. Try our mouth-watering smokies, pulled pork, roast beef, and more, made pure and natural with no additives or fillers. We offer custom processing, and our experienced team works for you to provide a selection of sausage, burgers, and jerkies made to your specifications. Take your grilling to the next level with a Yoder smoker. Complete the grilling experience with Canadian-made, award-winning line of House of Q barbecue sauces. We're locally owned and operated, and we look forward to seeing you today.
I'm Brian Zinchuk of PipelineOnline.ca. I used to be a pipeliner, and I've spent the last 15 years reporting on energy in Saskatchewan. PipelineOnline.ca provides comprehensive coverage of light oil, heavy oil, lithium, helium, power production including coal, wind, solar, geothermal, natural gas, and nuclear. There's a lot happening in Saskatchewan's energy sector, and Pipeline Online is there for all of it. No one else comes even close.
Welcome back to the Lloydminster Heavy Oil Show, the bi-yearly Lloydminster Heavy Oil Show for 2024. And we want to say thank you to Wellings of Lloydminster, now offering 1 or 2 bedroom gorgeous villas for those 55 and over. If you haven't taken a tour yet, take a tour of one of their gorgeous villas. They are absolutely beautiful, and they have in-floor heating, air conditioning, and whether you're looking for something where you can have more freedom to travel during the winter and not have to worry about who is clearing your driveway, is anything happening with the big house, are you worried about a toilet cracking or anything like that, you won't have to worry about that. At Wellings of Lloydminster, it is maintenance free. Call Darlene and ask for a tour, and you can just slide right into one of their 1 or 2 bedroom gorgeous villas with really deep garages as well at 780-872-8537. That's Wellings of Lloydminster for those 55 and over. Welcome to Patchwork at the Lloydminster Heavy Oil Show.
The most biased podcast on oil and gas on the internet.
Wow, I feel honored and privileged to be here at Patchwork.
Well, thank you. I don't know if we've all been together on Patchwork before. You guys have talked quite a lot before, and of course the room temperature goes up about 10 degrees when you guys are in the room because there's a massive amount of hot air going on at that particular time.
Wow,
it's going to get even hotter because I'm here now, so that's okay. But we are the most biased. And by the way, Mayor and I were just sitting there going and pondering your commercial and thinking, comfortable, and the freedom, and not have to worry about if the toilet needs fixing or any of that stuff. We were like, wow, did you ever sell that good?
I'm telling you, Wellings, yeah. And we do have Mayor Gerald Aalbers here. He's also in charge of protocol for the 2024 Heavy Oil Show, and he also was my contact for the banquet last night, and asked me to take the stage at the banquet last night. Had a lot of fun, maybe a little too much fun. Got a little spicy, so I had some fun with Glenn Jokey there last night. And I do want to apologize if I offended anybody. I certainly didn't mean to do that. It's looking back on how oil and gas has changed over the years, and maybe I looked a little bit too much back.
Yeah, maybe a little
past,
bit.
But,
Glenn's changed a little bit.
Well, absolutely. Well, oil and gas has changed. This show has changed.
And this show has changed.
Show has changed.
Kurt, we don't make any apologies about being passionate about oil and gas, though.
No,
we don't make apologies.
No, we don't make any apology for that. But, Gerald, one of the things that you talked about when we walked around yesterday, and you were showing some people what has changed with this show, because we talked about what has changed with this show, and one of the things you talked about was there's a lot of startups here.
Absolutely, there's a lot of startup companies. We've seen a change, and Tracy's been in the industry a long time. I don't consider myself a veteran by any means, but 25 plus years and the things that have changed. And that's the technology. We're addressing environmental issues, production issues from a technical perspective, and all the other pieces that go with it. So technology plays a huge role in everything the industry does. And it used to be you swung some valves, closed this one, you opened this one, and everything was fine. Now there's electronics, we've got AI starting to show up, we've got Bluetooth, you've got wireless, the list just goes on. But then you look at safety, we talked a little bit about that, how much change has been in safety. But it's paramount because no employer wants to have an injury, right? No one wants to be injured. So, there's a relationship between employee and employer to make safety better. Accidents are preventable. They're not going to zero is a tough struggle, but people drive for that. But in the same token, if you are addressing those issues, and we're seeing the technology change, forehead gas monitors, you've got and the regulations that go with it change. So there's continuous change, and it's a lot around technology.
If you get easier at making stuff, I tell everybody, if you've got an iPad at the well, it's very easy to train somebody in how to use that iPad. If you've got stuff that's going to take a lot more manual stuff, it's going to take longer to train them. We don't have the people in the industry that we used to that are those long of veterans. If we've got new people coming up, now, Kurt, we've got to train those people as quick as possible, so we need stuff that they can train on easier. The funny story about safety, we can say this from 40 years ago, 46 years that I started roughnecking on a rig. I wore a hard hat, a pair of greenskin gloves, a pair of shorts, and a pair of high-top runners, and that was working at the rig. And I had a tan that looked like I'd gone to the varnish company and got my whole body spray tanned or varnished. That was just some of the stuff that was going on out there. Now, I mean, you would just be done in like 2 seconds because everything, the only thing that really gets exposed in the sun now is maybe this part of your neck and the rest of your head, and that's in your face because we're always covered up. But that safety has come a long way, and the automation in that has come a long way. We have to have more technology to get these guys trained out quicker. If we don't have the personnel to do that, and we miss that because then the advancement of oil in this area can't go on as quick because of it, right?
Well, one of the things you mentioned, and maybe you saw this as you went around, Gerald, because you said we're seeing AI come in. I never thought of that for oil and gas and how it would work.
I didn't either. I'm still learning. I'm way out of touch, I'll be honest on this, because from the mayor's chair, my involvement in the oil patch is getting out and doing the occasional tank inspection when I can, and get away from the office. But AI is prevalent in so many industries, and it's in the oil and gas industry, and it may be in the training that Tracy talked about. We're going to see the government of Saskatchewan implement grade 11 and grade 12 oil and gas training, which is terrific to try and lure some young people into the industry and show them why it's attractive to come work in this industry. So that some of that will be AI, because you can't maybe have the hands-on safety that it will get to. But there's all sorts of liability issues. But what can AI do for us? It's immense. And I'm the last guy to talk about all the benefits because I'm just scratching the surface. But it's definitely present, being talked about at this show.
Yeah.
What's the foot traffic like so far?
From what I've heard, it's been steady. We don't have the hallways packed that you might see at the annual trade show that usually is held at the X. But I think the people that are in the booths are seriously talking to people about what they have there to demonstrate, be it goods, services, technology. And that's what's important.
You had some time to spend with Premier Danielle Smith and Premier Scott Moe. How did those conversations
Should we ask him a skill testing question? Do you like Saskatchewan better than Alberta, or is that too much of a tough question to answer?
It depends where I'm standing. I got 140 in each side. It's too tough a question.
Yeah,
You're putting me on the spot. No, it's been a tremendous 2 days to have the opportunity to chat with both premiers. And, we had them on stage at lunchtime today, which we very much appreciate. And thank you, Deidre, for moderating that and hearing from the premiers. I had the pleasure of leading a tour this morning. We got out to about 7 or 8 of the displays outside, which gave the premiers just a touch of what they see. Because you got to think about it. Those folks are going 365. This is just another day in their world, but it's just great to give them that opportunity. There's a lot of positiveness in the air. We have 2 premiers that think alike, 2 governments that think alike. Yeah, Premier Moe made some jokes at lunch. What's the 28th of October hold for him in store from that perspective. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Premier Moe, the Honourable Colleen Young, and the City Council members, or some of the council this afternoon for just a little bit. Premier gave us that opportunity, and we shared. And I'm rejuvenated to hear what, after the press conference that was held, or the media scrum, these 2 people and their governments want to work together to make Saskatchewan, Alberta better. And where would you make it more better than Lloydminster? We've got both sides of the border covered. And, the discussions about where we can take the 2 provinces, the oil and gas industry, and many other pieces to it. And there's always challenges, and they were open to discuss the challenges. So I don't want to give away too much, because it's all subject to what happens in October 28th for Premier Moe and November 13th for myself and council. But I'm really excited about some opportunities going into 2025.
Finally, after 2015, you've said you've been doing this for a long time. 46 years, there was always we called it the 6-year cycle, and then you'd have a year where you were going, okay, just make sure you have some cereal in the cupboard and some soup cans in place, teasing. But yep. And then this one, I keep saying this one didn't go for a year. This one's been since 2015, and this is the 3rd show basically since 2015. So that we're 9th, so say our 4th show. But 17 was still, or 16 was still okay, because we were still on the cusp.
Coming down.
And then these next ones have been like, man, it's just good to see, from having Andrew and Roger on the show this morning, that we're up with some attendance on the booths, or some more booths being here.
Yep.
hope that shows will dictate what we think the optimism is out there. And as more people are entering this and we have more people coming through, I think that's going to get us excited about having good optimism out there. Jim Reiter, I outright asked him, what's your optimism? How long have we got? What's our pocket? Have we got another 5 years or whatever, Mayor? I think, what's your optimism? What do you think as a mayor out there?
There's a lot of factors, and that's the one piece to it.
It's a high calculation.
It's a very high calculation, and the Premier's talked about that at lunch today. Depending on what triggers get pulled in a series, and then we didn't talk about the U.S. election and how that could change if there's a Republican government versus a Democrat in the White House. So there's a lot of pieces, but I truly believe that I can tell you from a municipal world, we need asphalt. And everybody will tell me that because they tell me about the potholes. So we need infrastructure improvements, and that's going to take asphalt.
By the way, for our listening audience out there, and we were chuckling, Kurt and I, and you were chuckling at this. Anyway, just for the record, there's oil in asphole.
There's
it's
oil
black
in asphalt.
For a reason.
Something you mentioned last night.
Yep, absolutely.
Might not
I heard
know.
the story, so it's
infrastructure needs, and that's only going to grow because electric cars need asphalt. That's the bottom line. So
they need extra asphalt, by the way, Mayor. It's 60% heavier than a
conventional car. Thank you. So those, we are positioned, and Premier, I believe both Premier Smith and Mo mentioned it, heavy oil is going to play a key driver because every refinery in the U.S. needs heavy oil to be added to West Texas Intermediate. So, I had the pleasure of spending some time in my previous career up at Foster Creek. That oil was destined to Illinois, I believe, is the refinery, the ConocoPhillips refinery, and had calls when that oil started flowing there from the folks that were working in the refinery in the chemical world saying, what's this stuff you're sending us? Give us a little background. So, it's needed. And again, it's price competitive. And if we can get it to market, we know Asia wants our heavy oil. So there's demand. And I'm bullish on heavy oil.
Yeah.
And, with Cenovus, tried to get it out of Jeff Lawson last night during the fireside chat. A little announcement, doubling the asphalt plant. And he giggled. I really believe in the next 10 years, Cenovus, CNRL, and other companies are going to continue to make investments. As Brian Zimchuk said, we ate 5 derricks or 8 derricks standing around Lloydminster. There's a yard full of oil country tubular goods. That tells me when I see casing and tubing laying on the ground, that tells me something's coming.
Well, also about, what you just said about the rigs being around. I think a lot of times we if you wanted to know what was going on in the oil patch at any time, just drive by the rig yards and you'll see if they're out, then that's pretty good optimism. But multilateral has got to be a really nice word, if we call it, it's probably, we'll just say it's one word, multilateral.
Yep, multilateral. So what does multilateral look like for those
it's exciting for us in the area.
It is. And, I don't know if anybody got on there, and I'm not the best person because I'm not a drilling engineer, but imagine your hand and another hand and another hand and another hand. I imagine a Christmas tree underground because that's what it is. You've got branches and more branches that lead out. And when you're on one pad, so let's just go through the economics of this. When you're able to secure one pad and drill 45 wells from one pad, one lease, now depending on how you structure that with the landowner, there's mineral right issues, but once you're set up, that rig doesn't have to move 45 times. That's 44 rig moves that are eliminated, which is not great for the rig moving business, but the drilling contractor's real happy. The guys putting pipe in the ground are real happy, be it the casing and tubing guys and things like that. So there's huge benefits. And talk about an improvement in the environmental footprint. We're now taking one square or a little bit bigger than a normal lease and turning it into a multi.
Abandonment liability things, we talked about that. I'm just trying to remember if that was with Zinchuk this morning. You don't have 14 wells now to do, but you may have not had those 14 wells anyway because they weren't as economic to drill 14 wells as it is one with 14 legs. So you're still going to get some of those Timbits from Tim Hortons because they're at least drilling wells. And if it's only one site and they drill a whole bunch of multilateral sites, what's the difference of that than them drilling 14 single wells anyway? That's all they were going to do because they're multilaterals now. So the rigs, in my opinion, will always be around. We've still got a ton of single vertical wells out there and some horizontal stuff and then the multilateral stuff. And I'm excited. I have a skill testing question for you.
Here we go.
Do you know what reserves, because you're a pretty good statistic guy, how much of the reserves within an hour, a couple hour radius of Lloydminster do you think we've taken out of the ground? I don't know if it's that high. Thermal, yes, but convention, has anybody ever said that to you?
15%. That's the standard conventional return on wells. And, coming a little bit of experience in the chemical industry, 10 years or so, that everybody was looking for that magic solution in this area to turn off the water, because when we start sucking on that heavy oil, and the water comes with it, and there's always that fight, when's it going to water? But 15% is the number that
That's 85% just for us, math. It's not a hard math question, but that just tells you why people are coming back. And you're probably also hearing, which we talked with Jim Reiter on, is that, we just had so much of the majors talking about thermal, which I think they're still going to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
But cold production, which is just your normal production with multilaterals, I know that budgets are changed. People are spending money on that kind of stuff, which is great for our company from the vendor side of it, because I just think there's a lot more opportunity for people to thrive in coal production as there is in thermal, because not everybody's doing thermal work. Right?
No, absolutely. I think thermal, there's definitely a capital cost that has to be weighted.
Oh, yeah.
And, a small producer, and there's a number of small producers around our community that may have access to mineral rights and could be doing a re-entry. I don't know how easy that is to do a multilateral on a re-entry, but, there's opportunity galore. And, I think that we've seen some changes with Cenovus purchasing Husky. I don't know where all the mineral rights are at, and maybe they're looking at farming in some and all sorts of things. So there's huge potential. That's the piece that I come away with. Like, the energy in this show tells me there's energy, and we talked about the past in 2015, and this show from 2022 to what we've seen already in 2024. Hell, I'm already looking forward to 2026 and hope that opportunity exists.
If somebody told me you could have what kind of land would you want? I just say that I wish I was the inheritance of the Canadian Pacific Railway, because that's where all the land comes from.
Yeah,
just an FYI for our listening audience, man. And then that's all indirectly. So all the railway for years owned so much of the land. That's where all the mineral rights come from, man. If you had an inheritance from the Canadian Pacific Railway, you would be a quadrillionaire, just off the royalties of all the oil that's produced in Canada.
One thing that was brought up during lunch was regulatory. And comparing Saskatchewan to Alberta. When you're talking about multilateral wells, are you talking, is that the difference, the biggest difference that Premier Smith was talking about?
I think they're going to be playing a little catch up. So Saskatchewan's leading the industry for multilateral and the incentives, because there's a tax implication.
Your get out of jail free card royalties is huge.
Yeah, so that's the big one. So the Premier talked about it. She's been talking about this publicly for a while. She's appointed Dave Yeager, who was here 2 years ago, spoke at the fireside chat.
We had him on the show.
And you had him on the show. There's a guy that cut his teeth here in Lloydminster with Homeco, because I think his dad was managing the station at the time. So, Dave is going to bring some perspectives to the industry. And, not everybody's going to agree with what Dave brings to the Premier, I'm sure. But, at the same token, the world is a changing place. It doesn't matter if you're a municipality, urban, rural, the oil and gas industry, we can talk about the show. It's a changing place. So how we deal with things, because it's not just the provincial regulations. There's federal regulations as well that play into this. And we'll wait and see where the federal government and what happens in the federal level in the near future. So Alberta's going to be doing a lot of watching over the fence, especially on the multilateral in Saskatchewan. Premier was taking notes today, I can tell you that, guys. And she's going to be sending Yeager out, I think, for a visit again real soon.
I agree with that. The other part of that is that as even an entrepreneur, just say, if you know you can be softened on the front part of your business to start, and then look at that at the end, later on in your business when your business is thriving, that's just good. That's just good business. And so Saskatchewan says, okay, guys, we're going to give you these incentives, and we're going to soft load you on the start, and then we may look at that later on down the line, which is fair. That just gives people incentive to say, let me do these wells, make some money, then I can give you some of that money back. But if it makes it difficult for me to make money or to have the money to start these wells because there's no incentives, we don't get the oil in the ground. And 600,000 barrels a day is what Reiter said today that he wants to get to.
Yeah, that's where they want to go from.
You've got to have some. You think you've got to have some incentives out there. Are we still recovering from 2015? What a great way to start to help that recovery then by giving us as a producer. Now I've said that how many times today on the air? As a producer, some kind of incentives to get us back into the game so that we can have some long-term effect with the governments.
It's risk and reward, and the government's understanding the risk, and there's reward for both the producer and the province of Saskatchewan, because at the end of the day, the royalties roll to the province, which pay for health care and education, and the list just goes down the list. So there's a direct correlation to the oil and gas industry in Alberta, definitely more than Saskatchewan, but natural resources, because we have to talk about potash and uranium, even though that's not directly tied to oil and gas. Those are natural resources that pay the bills on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Was there anything else that stood out to you about that luncheon?
To see a full room of people. We saw exhibitors, we saw oil executives, we saw producers, their operators, community members in that room. That sent a really positive vibe to me, that people were very interested to hear what those two premiers had to say today and wanted to be in that room. And I think that really speaks to it. And that's a little bit of a fundamental change in the way the oil shows ran. Traditionally, you walked outside and you could smell Smokies over there at Bandit, and you could smell burgers and all sorts of things. And there's been a little bit of a fundamental change in that piece. They're here. Some of those folks are out there today, but the idea of taking an hour out of your time and going to listen to two premiers. Tomorrow we're going to have 3 leading executives from the services industry, from drilling and the drilling and service rig side, the Inserva, which is the old PSAC, which is the other portion of a lot of the members of the service industry, and Energy Safety Canada, talking about the pieces they're seeing, because back to everybody's got a different view in this industry, and it'll be interesting to see how positive they are, which I think they're going to be quite positive when we start talking about that and what they're seeing, the trends, and what issues start to repeat themselves. Because last night's tour with the VIP tour, labor was a big issue. I think that came up again today. There was talk a little bit about fireside chat last night, and it'll be interesting to see what the industry players that support the producers each and every day are saying about things. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow's luncheon and just getting a feel of what people are thinking about there.
Where do you want to see this show go? 2026, you look ahead.
Well, 2026, so we've got one derrick standing out there, and I saw pictures in the 80s, and I wasn't here in the 80s, and I really, 80s and 90s, and I really missed that. I wish I would have been, but I'd like to see some derricks standing in the air, showing off the technology of the service rigs, how they continue to evolve and things like that. And we did try, but a lot of guys said my rig's out working, which is a good thing, honestly a good thing, and some other equipment. But you know what draws people's attention when they drive by and they see something standing in the air, go, oh, what is that? Why is that bright and shiny? And it's not because it's the oil patch. People take pride. I can't tell you how many operators in this community and businesses make sure their equipment leaves their yard spotless every day, because when they get to location, that's what they want to present, first-class operations. And very proud of the operators and the service industry in this community that supports our producers each and every day, because they take pride in their equipment, their work, the people they send to the field. And if we can get that here for 2 days of the show, and hopefully sunshine for 2 days, just about 22 degrees if you were asking, if good Lord's listening, please,
that's right.
In 2026. That's all we ask. Just give the folks the opportunity to come in and enjoy, get out and visit, because this show is here to highlight and to demonstrate to our producers and their staff, the operations. I really expressed this last night with Cenovus, how important, being one of the biggest operators in the area, or the biggest, we need their support at this show, letting their folks see some of this stuff firsthand. Because, if it's safety, when they talk about a safety meeting, maybe somebody in the field's got a suggestion that hasn't been thought about over at the Sonova Center place. So those are important parts, and we'd love to see this show grow. It'll stay with 2 days, and I think we're going to try and stay at the same calendar time, but that's for the next committee to decide, and we'll take it from there.
Well, shout out to Strathcona, shout out to Sonova, shout out to CNRL, shout out to Reiter, shout out to Baytex. some of the companies that are big producers in this area, and that make the world go around.
And support the show.
And support the show.
Support it financially, because there is a cost to this show. It can generate some profits, which the OTS clubs puts back into the community in various ways. But we got to have they'd like to have enough money to make sure we can put off the next show.
Exactly.
And be able to take it from there.
Good stuff.
Thank you, Gerald. Oh, one
other
unrelated.
thing?
Well, it's kind of related.
Oh,
kind
you're
of
married now?
Okay? Synovus
okay.
Hub, because you brought it up. I know you take every opportunity you can to corner Danielle Smith about getting some Alberta money. Did you have a chance to tour her around the Synovus Hub?
I did not get a chance to tour the Premier of Alberta.
I know you wanted to.
I did. And trust me, we are been in some great discussions with the government of Alberta. It's continuing. The Premier talks about me not missing an opportunity to see her. She's well aware of the project. I'd love to get her there, got her there this trip, but it's going to come. And same with Premier Moe. I'd like to. We thanked him for their contribution, but again, get them there. But timing is everything. But trust me, I think they're hopefully, fingers crossed, January maybe it'd be a good time to take them to a new facility that's getting closer to the edge.
I think I'm being pretty optimistic. That's a big project, and it's a good thing to have here. I think it'll work out really well for you.
It's a value add for both sides. And, people ask him, well, why would Alberta contribute when it's in Saskatchewan? We're replacing a building in Saskatchewan. Just like the Service Sports Centre was built on the Alberta side, the BioClean Aquatic Centre. When you look at our city, we're one. There's a border that runs right through it, but you ask anybody, and I'll tell this story. A year ago, when Premier Smith made an appearance at the CPCA Chuck Wagon Finals, really appreciate that. We had some meetings over on the Alberta side, and then, of course, their security detail drives are over here. And just before we went on stage at the CPCA Finals, I said, Premier, just so you know, you're standing in Saskatchewan. And she went, oh my gosh, because she didn't know she crossed the border, just like everybody else. If you didn't know what those big red markers were by City Hall, you wouldn't know you were in a different province, right? Because the water lines, the sewer lines, and we operate as one. And so I know that I'm pretty optimistic. And again, I give Garth Rosewell, our MLA on the Alberta side, credit, and the ministers that have taken time to hear from me, and the Premier. They'll be hearing more from me. I'm not going away, I don't think. But like I say, we'll see what November 13th brings from the municipal election, but we're going to continue to advocate and share the value of this city. And the Premier mentioned it in the scrum. This area provides a lot of revenue to the provincial governments of Saskatchewan and Alberta. So trust me, all I'm asking for is just a little bit to come back.
That's right.
You doing the Champion X shrimp boils tonight?
I am not. I'm going to try and take some time and recharge tonight, because it's the last 2 days taken a little bit, and I want to give her a full day tomorrow. So I'm going to pass. You guys are going to have a great time, and it's going to be a great social event. But I got to take a pass on this one. I think it's put my feet up. My knees started to hurt earlier today, and
get you back to the home.
You
Thank
betcha.
you, Mayor.
My pleasure.
You
betcha.
Back home.
I
said back to the home.
Yeah, there you go.
Home.
Wellings of Lloydminster is calling me.
Yes. Kurt, tell us what we got tomorrow. We got Deidre, who
tomorrow
was our mediator yesterday.
We're going to talk Bill
Yeah.
C-59. And she's going to analyze some of the stuff that was said on stage this afternoon. And I didn't want to ask you about it, but one of the things that stood out to me the most was the question of what do you need from the federal government? And Scott Moe, I need a new federal government. That was pretty blunt.
It is pretty blunt. Folks, I can't say it any blunter. It's challenging, because I appreciate what the federal government's done for our community in grants, but holy hell, I hear it every day from the oil and gas industry. We're getting choked off, and agriculture is facing some challenges and things like that. And these are economic decisions, and every political party has a different venue, and it's been a tough 9 years here, and we'd sure like to see the opportunities fully utilized and realized. That's really what it comes down to, is realizing the benefits we have in this community and surrounding area. And I don't want to get much more political than that. Otherwise, I'll be tying myself with a noose.
Well, I was going to say, I was spicy last night. You were spicy.
Well, people have questioned your support Justin Trudeau and the UN and the WEF. Folks, that's the farthest thing from the truth. I carry a membership, and you you can imagine where that membership lies at the federal level.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Gerald.
My pleasure.
Yeah, please join us tomorrow. We're looking forward to seeing Deidre Garrick tomorrow, and if we get a chance, we'll squeeze Brian Zinchuk in again too, because we didn't get a chance to talk to Brian about Bill C-59 as well. Which, if that bill could hurt anybody, it could hurt pipelineonline.ca. I mean, the oil industry is his life. Yeah. Basically. So we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., right here from the 2024 Lloydminster Heavy Oil Show.